towards the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Please be seated.
To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Hindu tradition. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Buddhist tradition. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Zoroastrian tradition. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Taoist tradition. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing indigenous traditions. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Jewish tradition. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the Christian tradition. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing the religion of Islam. To the glory of the omnipresent God, we kindle this light, symbolically representing all those, whether known or unknown to the world, who have held aloft the light of truth amidst the darkness of human ignorance.
Please join me in saying the first prayer. You may rise if you are so able, and the prayer is in your program. Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being. Take us in thy parental arms. Raise us from the denseness of the earth. Thy beauty do we worship. To thee do we give willing surrender. Most merciful and compassionate God, the idealized Lord of the whole humanity, thee only do we worship, and towards thee alone do we aspire. Open our hearts towards thy beauty. Illuminate our souls with divine light. O thou, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, all-powerful creator, sustainer, judge, and forgiver of our shortcomings, Lord God of the East and of the West, of the worlds above and below, of the seen and unseen beings, pour upon us thy love and thy light. Give sustenance to our bodies, hearts, and souls. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth, and guide us on the path of thine own goodness. Draw us closer to thee every moment of our lives, until in us be reflected thy grace, thy glory, thy wisdom, thy joy, and thy peace. Amen. You may be seated.
We read from the Hindu tradition. I'm concerned because no one has the scripture.
Oh, we didn't print scripture.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's
So,
my fault.
if, well,
It's okay, I have them right here.
well, I have
Oh, you have them
mine,
right here. Oh, okay.
but our guests don't have them. So I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. We try to. I'm sorry.
They're in English, right?
Oh,
Okay. Well, we can argue over this negligence here. So we read from the Hindu tradition, from Rampasad Sen. Why is Mother Kali so radiantly black? Because she is so powerful. Even mentioning her name destroys delusion. Because she is so beautiful, Lord Shiva, conqueror of death, lies blissfully vanquished beneath her red-soled feet. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine wisdom.
so I love that we are starting with this passage, because this is this calls our whole discernment this year into focus. The whole discernment this year is approaching reality through the goddess, and this is from the tantric tradition, and the tantric tradition values the feminine in a very intense way, and this is because there is a feminine masculine duality, but it's moved into a very cosmological space, and we are now, in the course of our discernment, moving into a cosmological space. We have worked with the first part of the year. We worked with seeing, encountering, actually meeting the Divine Mother in nature, and then meeting the Divine Mother in humanity. And now we are starting this third of the year, meeting the Divine Mother as in the cosmos, in a cosmological way, in a sense, a more abstract way. But when I say abstract, I do not mean less involved with our real life. I mean more foundational to our reality. If we believe that we are created from spirit, that the world is created from spirit, then the spiritual level, the abstract level, as it were, is the foundation of reality. Now, even that is creating separation, because, and this is the message of the tantric, a message of the tantric tradition is it's all one piece. There is no higher and lower. There is no distinction on one level. And this is why there is this devotion to the goddess, because as here, they're talking about Kali and Shiva. Shiva represents absolute stillness. Shiva represents, in a sense, the unmanifest, the silence. And the goddess represents everything else, the whole energy of the universe, everything that we engage with. And there's a lot of traditions that do not gender divinity particularly, that explicitly do not gender divinity, like Islam or Judaism or the Hindu tradition that is represented by most of the Upanishads, where the idea is to transcend this reality. I mean, I'm talking about the Upanishads now, not about Islam. The idea is to transcend reality and or transcend this level of reality. The tantric idea is not to transcend this, but to experience it in a different way, to experience it as a totality, as a unity. And this is done because we are human beings. This can be very effectively done through our hearts, through devotion. So this is the whole practice of being in relationship with the goddess. Okay, let's keep going.
And we read from the Buddhist tradition, words by Thich Nhat Hanh. And this particular reading is a chant that is recited daily in his monasteries. Breathing in and out, I am aware of the fact that I am of the nature to die. I cannot escape dying. I am of the nature to grow old. I cannot escape old age. I am of the nature to get sick because I have a body. I cannot avoid sickness. Everything I cherish, treasure, and cling to today, I will have to abandon one day. The only thing I can carry with me is the fruit of my own action. I cannot bring along with me anything else except the fruit of my actions in terms of thought, speech, and bodily acts. Also, we have additional words of Thich Nhat Hanh from his book, No Death, No Fear. We are often sad and suffer a lot when things change, but change and impermanence have a positive side. Thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. Life itself is possible. If a grain of corn is not impermanent, it can never be transformed into a stalk of corn. If the stalk were not impermanent, it would never provide us with the ear of corn we eat. If your daughter is not impermanent, she cannot grow up to become a woman. Then your grandchildren would never manifest. So instead of complaining about impermanence, we should say, warm welcome and long live impermanence. We should be happy when we can see the miracle of impermanence. Our sadness and suffering will pass. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of divine compassion.
So we see this, I love this pattern of scripture and then commentary that Thich Nhat Hanh is giving here, and then I'm commenting more on it. But it's like the Talmud. We're just going to comment on the commentary. But I love this because it starts out with this sense of everything is going to die. Get used to it. And that's very sobering in a way. But then the commentary says, wait, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And this doesn't talk about the goddess, but this is the relationship with the goddess. This is what it's like, is this acceptance of reality and impermanence. And the blessing of ephemerality, the beauty and the power of it. So he's talking very, Buddhism is often not thought to be a devotional tradition, but the same things come up, and this is talking very directly about what that experience is like, and we're going to get into this in some depth, I think.
And this scripture is from the Zoroastrian tradition, and it is from the Gathas. This I ask thee, tell me truly, O Ahura, how shall we dispel the spirit of untruth from among us? Let it be with the unfaithful and the disobedient, who strive not to be the companions of truth, who are not to listen to the counsels of the good mind. This I ask thee, tell me truly, O Ahura, how shall I deliver evil into the hands of righteousness? How shall I render it ineffective through the holy words of thy teaching? How shall I frustrate the followers of evil, O Mazda, that they come to their blind extinction? We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of divine purity.
So here's where things get difficult when we start talking about destruction. What gets destroyed? What should be destroyed? And who gets to destroy it? It's very easy to misunderstand a lot of passages like this. When it says, "How shall I frustrate the followers of evil that they may come to their blind extinction?" It's very easy, and people often have misunderstood passages like this to mean you are a follower of evil and therefore must be destroyed. I think but I think it's very clear what's going on here. It says, "How shall I deliver evil into the hands of righteousness?" Now, you could take that in a sense of, how do I take these people who are evil and give them to these righteous people so that they can be destroyed? I don't think that's what's going on here. The people are not being called evil here. There is evil, and there are followers of evil. Delivering evil into the hands of righteousness is redeeming evil? How do we transform evil into righteousness? This is a blessing for the followers of evil. The followers of evil, as they're spoken of here, are not essentially evil beings. Human beings are not essentially evil or particularly good, at least in the sense where you're matching up evil with good. I think we are essentially good, but not in a way that evil comes into that particular picture. That's at a higher level of thinking, not this down here where we are butting heads about ridiculous things and not so ridiculous things. How shall I render evil ineffective through the holy words of thy teaching? So this is not saying we deal with evil by destroying people. It's saying we deal with evil by confronting it with truth. And this is, especially in the Zoroastrian tradition, when they say evil, they are not contrasting it with good so much as with truth, as with reality. It defines the disobedient and the unfaithful as those who strive not to be the companions of truth. And we're not, again, this is not truth as some sort of religious dogma. This is truth. This is a commitment to accepting reality in all of its amazing completeness. So what does get destroyed? What is it our job to destroy? Well, one tradition, one way of working the spiritual path is to destroy that in ourselves which is inharmonious. So we can work, and again, this is a very strong theme in the Zoroastrian tradition, to work on our speech, our thoughts, and our actions. And in each of these spheres, we can destroy that which is inharmonious. We can, especially, let's take our thoughts, because it's our thoughts, our actions, and our speech really spring from our thoughts. We can tend our thoughts like a garden. And the whole practice of being a farmer, being a gardener, is to direct the force of life, because stuff's gonna grow. Stuff's always coming up. There's life. There's this process that's just always birthing and destroying and being recreated. And we can guide that process. The metaphor of the garden is really good. We can take out what we don't want to be growing, and we can leave and encourage what we want to be growing. We can do this with our minds. And it's very simple. If it's beautiful, keep it. If it's not beautiful, destroy it. It doesn't work if you start applying it to the world of action in human beings, but it works. You don't want to destroy all the non-beautiful human beings according to your judgment, But this works great with our minds. Anything that is constructive, keep it. If it's destructive, don't keep it. It's not, well, I was going to say it's not difficult. It is difficult, but it's simple. It's very simple.
And we read from the Taoist tradition from the Tao Te Ching. When the government is lazy and dull, its people are unspoiled. When the government is efficient and smart, its people are discontented. Disaster is the avenue of fortune, and fortune is the concealment for disaster. Who would be able to know its ultimate results? We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine way.
So the Tao Te Ching often speaks in somewhat surprising and paradoxical ways, I think, to wake us up. And the general thought in the I Ching is in a way anti-progressive. It says most people who are trying to change things are just are not in harmony with the universe, and they're just going to cause more trouble. And this is not our current ethos, but it's I find it kind of refreshing. When it says when the government is lazy and dull, the people are unspoiled. When the government is efficient and smart, in other words, they're interfering in your life all the time, then people are reactive to that. All of this applies to our internal state, our internal governance. If we are there's another place in the Tao Te Ching where it says you have to govern a nation as though you are cooking a small fish. And again, this applies to our internal government as well. So I was saying this about, monitoring your thoughts and destroying this and keeping that and all that. Even that has to be done very gently. Because we have infinite capacity for self-deception. So we need to be very gentle with ourselves, or we'll start, we will create undercurrents of rebellion, of which we are unconscious. So this is basically saying we don't even know the difference between disaster and good fortune. They interpenetrate. Excuse me. They interpenetrate each other, and who the hell knows where it's all headed? So this suggests a completely different method of working with ourselves and our thoughts and what we should destroy. And I'm going to bring this out, not to say this is better or worse than what I just suggested, but all of these spiritual teachings work at different stages of our lives. This is one of the misunderstandings that people have when they look at spiritual teachings and they think, oh, I can't do that, or this is not for me. Well, maybe it's not right now, but maybe it will be in 6 months. There's a lot of different ways of working. So we could work, say, with our thoughts, that we keep what's good, keep what's beautiful, and jettison what is not beautiful or what is destructive. Or we can throw everything out. We can not keep anything. We can, as soon as it rises up, just throw it in the fire. And don't worry about it, because more stuff's coming. All the time. All the time. We are an upwelling of life and consciousness and creativity, and we don't have to keep anything. We don't have to have control over anything. We don't have to, we don't actually have to manage anything. So that's true as well. Rich?
From the indigenous people. This is a quotation from Wovoka. Wovoka was a Paiute holy man who lived in the 1870s. He was the bringer of the ghost dance to the Plains Indian tribes. The ghost dance religion is the only religion that was ever outlawed by the United States government. But one of its key teachings was that the Spirit of Christ was in the earth again. So, when the son died, I went up to heaven and saw God and all the people who had died a long time ago. God told me to come back and tell my people they must be good and love one another and not fight or steal or lie. He gave me this dance to give to my people. We offer to thee, omniscient God, our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine relationships.
So as Rich just said, this is from the Wovoka, who was the prophet of the ghost dance, and it doesn't really say it in this passage, but we included this in this this focus on destruction, because this is an apocalyptic message. The ghost dance. It is saying the world will be turned upside down. If we do this spiritual practice, then everything will change. And if we do this dance of remembrance, everything will change. And it's a again, there's this misunderstanding of things in the spiritual realm and things in the world of action, let's say. This practice was outlawed by the government, even though it was, and I think it may have been deliberately misunderstood. But it was a nonviolent practice. It stressed nonviolence, and it stressed don't change anything in your outward activity. You know, the essentially just keep doing what you're doing, but do this practice. And this whole civilization of the white people will destroy itself. And this is sometimes seen as a prophecy that did not come true, but I think the jury's out. When we speak about destroying our internal, what is inharmonious or even superfluous, in our minds, one of the most powerful things that we have to deal with is the projections of other people. And this is particularly where I believe it is a good practice to make no distinction between good and bad. Other people's opinions of us are literally part of our bodies. Our bodies exist in many levels. There's not just the material, physical body. We have lots of energetic bodies and spiritual bodies, let's say. They're broken down in different ways in different traditions. But we exist on many levels, very far beyond this. And our network of relationships, our moral body, as it were, is one of these, and is actually constituted by our relationships and how we exist in other people's lives and the projections that they throw on us, whether they are of praise or blame, because praise or blame are essentially just two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. And we cannot be too concerned with any of that. And we are deeply, deeply affected psychically by the projections of other people on us. So this is something that it is good to destroy. How do we destroy this? We give them no place to land internally, no place to land inside of ourselves, no place that they can catch. We can develop a practice, as I said, of channeling all of that right into the fire. Give it to the goddess. This is a function of divinity, to eat the world. And I think we'll find that if we do this, we have a lot more space inside, and we can get a lot more accomplished, and we can see a lot clearer. So this is very practical stuff.
From the Jewish tradition, the way of the Lord is a stronghold for the blameless, but a ruin for the evildoers. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 19. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine covenant.
This is another kind of harsh sounding thing, because, we have a tendency, I think, it's a cultural thing, and it's good we have a predilection to be merciful. I think as human beings we have this, so it's, you read something like, the way of the Lord is a ruin for evildoers, and we immediately go, oh, poor evildoer. You do. I do. Maybe you don't. But again, we can't get, caught up in this, sort of like action level political idea of this stuff. It's I forget who said, the way to the best way to destroy an enemy is to make them into a friend, right? That's one of those internet things. I think Abraham Lincoln said it. But the path of the Lord is a path of destruction, of accepting destruction. Because everything else is easy. We don't have to work on anything else. We don't have to work on accepting blessing too much. Actually, some of us do. But we do have to work on accepting destruction, especially the destruction of what we take as ourselves, and the structures that we are attached to. And it's a sort of distrust, that if we don't think the universe is supporting us, and this is what being walking in the way of the Lord means here. It means being in harmony with the will of God. What is the will of God? Anything that happens. What actually happens is the will of God. And being in harmony with that on a deep level means appreciating destruction, appreciating the whole process, being endlessly grateful that we even exist and are a part of this astounding display. Okay, let's move on.
From the teachings of Christianity. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. From the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. We offer to thee, omniscient God, our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine self-sacrifice.
So this is strange, isn't it? The road to destruction is wide and very popular, and the road to life is narrow and few find it. That's odd, because you would think that the life choice would be more popular. It's a mystery, but So why isn't it like that? I think it isn't like that because we get attached. We get attached to what is, we try to hold on. We think we're in control. We think that we can, build our little toy fort around ourselves and dig in. And it just doesn't work. You know, I mean, it's one of the great things about getting older is like, you know, you fail at this again and again and again. And you start thinking, I don't know, maybe I should take a different tack. It's good if you get it when you're younger. It's actually easier when you're younger. You have more energy. But yeah, I mentioned before about how different spiritual teachings and techniques, if you like, they're medicine for different illnesses. They are solutions for different stages of your process. So this is something that especially for people who are explicitly on the spiritual path in some way, this is the constant obstacle, is that we stick with what works. And what worked at a certain point isn't necessarily what gets you to the next place. It's usually actually the exact thing that is keeping you from getting to the next place. You know, your level of competence, as it were, is holding you back. This is why constant destruction is necessary. This is why not hanging on to what worked in the past, if it's not doing what you need now, if it is not in harmony with, let's say, the will of God right now, we need to be able to let go. We need to be able to forget. We need to be able to just engage with what's coming up in the moment in an open-hearted and clear way, in a thankful way. Thankfulness is an amazing tool because it clears your heart. Just immediately. If you feel grateful, there's a lot of other stuff that you're not doing in that moment. You know, everything that we're talking about, contraction and control and hanging on to the past, you can't really be doing that in the moment if you are really feeling open-hearted and grateful. Okay.
This is from the teachings of Islam. To God, true faith is submission, and those who received the book differed only after receiving knowledge out of contention. God will be swift in reckoning with those who deny his revelations. This is from the Quran, Surah 3, verse 19. Translation is that of Safi Kaskas. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine unity.
So I guess we're ending up in a place where the encounter with the Divine Mother as destroyer is the essence of Islam. Because according to God, from the standpoint of absolute reality, the only religion, it says faith here, deen in Arabic, lifestyle, religion, way of life. From the perspective of the divine, the only religion is self-surrender. And self-surrender is from one perspective at least, a process of destruction. Really, it's a negative path. It's not a, oh, I should do this and I'll act in this way kind of thing. It's tearing down your ego, false personality, whatever you want to call it. It is tearing down your attachment to your individual self, to the sense of control. This is the only religion. This is what submission means. Islam means submission. When they say submission, this is what it means. It doesn't mean submitting to an external authority. Even if that, no, I'm not going to say that. It doesn't mean submitting to a code of law. It means submitting to the will of God in the most basic sense, in the basic sense that we're talking about. And instead of the will of God, I could say the play of the goddess. Absolutely the same thing. And the process of submitting, as I said before, we don't have a problem submitting to blessing and generosity and light and intelligence. We're very open to these things, God willing. But this place of destruction, which, when you get down to it, is about the destruction of what we take as ourselves, what we take to be ourselves. This is really the work, and the more we are able to destroy, it's almost like the faster we can destroy this, the more we are filled with light, with new creation, and the less we hang on to that, the more it comes. This is the key to the narrow gate that the Christian passage mentions. It's a practice, and it gets easier. I want to read a passage from Rumi, from the poetry of Rumi. Dancing is not rising to your feet painlessly, like a speck of dust blown around in the wind. Dancing is when you rise above both worlds, tearing your heart to pieces and giving up your soul. And tearing your heart to pieces and giving up your soul doesn't sound like the most fun in the world. But actually, it is the most fun in the world. And the more you do it, the more you get that. The more you embed that in your soul. That so the spiritual path is not a struggle. It's a path of relaxation. That requires a lot of struggle and work. until you get to the place where it doesn't require struggle at work. And it's not a linear path. So, but this is a keynote. This is the keynote. If we can empty our hearts, and you really don't have to exercise that much discretion and discrimination. We can just empty our hearts. We can give everything that's in there up to destruction. So I'm going to read one final passage. There is a time when one finger is cut off, and a time when the whole hand is lost. There is a time when one limb perishes, and a time when the whole body is dead. There is a time when one thing in the room is broken, another when everything in the room is smashed, another when the whole house is ruined, another time when the whole city or the whole country is destroyed. So there is a time when the whole world is destroyed, even the universe. But this comes over a much longer period of time. We offer to the omniscient God our reverence, our homage, and our gratitude for the light of the divine truth.